Jan's room was the exception. Her cameras were always on. Gunther spent most of his night shift writing crazy vampire romance novels, but always kept a close eye on Jan. That was the man's main shift responsibility, really, to make sure Jan didn't kill herself. The vidphone picture changed from Gunther's face to a high-angle, black and white image. An overweight woman tossing and turning on her bed, heavy black hair covering much of her face. Colding could see her lips moving, see the look of fear on her face. There would be no going back to sleep this time. Okay, Gun, I'll go take care of her. He hit the disconnect button, and the screen went black. Colding slid out of his bed, his bare feet hitting the frigid floor. No matter how high they turned up the temperature, the floor remained perpetually ice cold. He stepped into his ratty flip-flops, pulled on a robe, and slid a small earpiece into his left ear. He tapped the earpiece once, turning it on. Gunther, radio check. Gotcha, boss. Okay, I'm on my way. Holler if she comes out of it before I get there. Colding left his bread in the nightstand drawer. No need for the gun. He headed for Jean's. Her bleeding fingers had turned the panda from black and white to black and red. Panda body, tiger arm, sock monkey leg, lion leg, plastic baby doll arm, and the black head with a mouth full of pointy teeth. Her possessed hands held the strange creation, a misshapen, mismatched Dr. Seuss Frankenstein. Not again, Jan's little girl voice whispered. Please, not again. She begged, but like watching a familiar old rerun, she knew just what would come next. She started screaming a moment too early, just before the black eyes fluttered open and looked right at her. Primitive, unfeeling, but clearly hungry. Something shook her. The hodgepodge stuffed animal opened its mouth and seemed to smile. The devil's smile. Mismatched arms, baby doll plastic pink and tiger stripe orange and black, reached up and out for her. Just as the creature opened its mouth to bite, that something shook her even harder. Colding gently shook Jean one more time. She blinked awake, the expression of terror still fixed on her confused face. Sweat and tears matted her silky black hair against her face. Jean, it's okay. He'd watched this woman for 2 years, tried to help her both because it was his job and because she had become his good friend. For Jean, some days were better than others. The bad days hurt Colding, made him feel incompetent and powerless. He always reminded himself, however, that she was still alive, and that was really something. She tried to kill herself twice. He'd personally stopped both attempts. Jean blinked once more, perhaps trying to see through the hair, then threw her arms around Colding in a crushing hug. He returned the hug, patting her fears away as if she were his daughter and not 20 years his senior. I have dream again, Mr. Colding. It's okay, Colding said. He felt her tears on his neck and shoulder. She shook like a thunder-frightened puppy. Jean called every man Mr., although with her thick accent it always sounded like Mista. He'd never been able to convince her to call him by his first name. It's okay, Jean. Why don't you see if you can get back to sleep? She pulled away from him and wiped tears with the back of her hand. No, she said. No sleep. Jan, come on, just try. I know you haven't slept more than 6 hours in the past 3 days. No. Can't you at least try? No. She turned and slid out from under the covers, surprisingly graceful for a woman who carried 250 pounds in a 5'6" frame. Colding realized too late that she wasn't wearing any pajama bottoms. He turned away, embarrassed, but John didn't seem to notice. As long as I get some work done, she said. We have another immune response test this morning. Colding rubbed his eyes, partially because it kept him from looking like he was trying not to look. He stared at the familiar chessboard sitting on her dresser. She'd beat him 97 times in a row, who was counting. Her bottle of medication sat next to the chessboard. A clear strip running down the bottle's side let him see how much fluid remained. Across the strip, written in neat black letters, were dates in descending order. November 1st on top, November 30th on the bottom. The fluid leveled out, and November 7th. Yes, I am taking my meds, she said. I may be crazy, but I am not stupid. But was she taking them? Things had been getting worse, her nightmares growing in frequency and intensity. Don't say that about yourself, Jean. I don't think you're crazy. You also do not think you are handsome, Jean said. This proves your judgment is questionable.